Good evening. So I really like this time of year. You know, it's getting a little cooler. That's nice. There's a lot of things you can do that we enjoy. There's hunting you can go do. There's football you can go watch or play. There's band if that's your thing. You know, you can do that stuff too. Food's pretty good. You got casseroles or soups, whatever. And then, you know, you got a lot of holidays. So all that stuff's pretty good. But I really like the leaves changing. I think that's a pretty neat thing that happens. So if you think about a leaf, it's green most of the time. But as we get into fall, what happens? You start seeing all these colors. Yellows, reds, oranges. I really like the fire maples. Those are my favorite. You get some browns. So what's happening there? Do we know why the leaves change colors? Well, what makes a leaf green is the chlorophyll. The chlorophyll is what the plant uses to turn the light from the sun into energy, and so that's a pretty precious resource for the plant. And during the fall time, they tend to reabsorb that chemical back into the tree or the plant, whatever. So back when I was in high school in John Hatton's class, he asked the question. He said, "Why does this happen?" You know, and I didn't know for sure, but I raised my hand. I said, "It gets cold." He said, "Well, no, that's not right." And so he went on to explain the scientific method, and that was one of the first things they tested to see why trees do that. Come to find out, it's the sun, or a lack of sun at certain times of year. So the earth is tilted on an axis, and it goes around the sun, and different times of the year, the top half of the earth or the bottom half of the earth gets different amounts of sun. And that determines your seasons. So as I was driving to work, I started noticing the leaves were starting doing that. I had to go to a work trip in Pittsburgh, and so they're a little farther north, so they're already changing some more leaves. So I got thinking, I was like, you know, if you think about it, the amount of sun the tree gets determines the color of the leaves. And we can apply that to being a Christian. So you just got to follow me and trust me. So as a leaf is changing color, it's really showing its true colors. Because the leaf's always been that yellow or that red or that orange. But it's just when it had a lot of sun, it put the chlorophyll out there and it masked it. Well, as humans, as Christians, we are supposed to be in the sunlight, the S-O-N sun, right? So as the amount of sun that we're exposed to in our lives, sometimes it can diminish because maybe we're not spending as much time in the Word as we should. Maybe we're not praying as much as we should. Maybe we're not serving as much as we should. All those things can impact how much of the sun that is shining on us that we're getting. So maybe we start showing more of our human side then. Maybe it's things that we put away with the old man that start creeping back in. Maybe it's things that you're with a group of people that you normally wouldn't be impacted by what they're doing, but now you're being influenced a little bit by them. Maybe it's things that you normally wouldn't do when you're by yourself that you do now by yourself. And you need to think to yourself, say, hey, what happened? Because another thing about the seasons is as the earth goes around the sun, what's moving? The earth is. The sun stays the same. So is there anywhere in the Bible that tells us that Jesus stays the same? Well, there is. If you look over there in Hebrews 13, verse 8, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. And you can also think about the parable of the prodigal son, how the dad didn't move his house when his son left. The son left, and he took his belongings, and he went to the city. He made those bad choices, and he come back where he knew the dad was, to the same house. Some things stay the same. God didn't move. You moved away from God. You can also think about the cycles of the trees and how, you know, we go through fall, then we go to winter, and we come back to spring, and we come back to summer. It's a good cycle. So in a Christian's life, you don't have to cycle. You can stay in the sun all the time. But if you fall away, it's likely you get in that cycle of you start changing your habits, you start changing what you look like, you're not growing anymore. And then you get to winter when you're definitely not growing anymore because the tree doesn't grow in the winter. But then you need that sunlight. So you need either the earth to move or you need to get back in your place with the sun like you're supposed to be, reading your Bible, praying, serving. You need some good brothers and sisters to come help you show you the way back. All those things are things that you need at that time. And then you can get back to the spring of your life. It may be like when you were first baptized as a Christian, you have to learn some things back. But that's okay because you're back in the sunlight. Because we all want to be, when our leaves are green, we're producing fruit, our roots are getting stronger. All that stuff's where we all want to be. So I hope the illustration made sense. I hope you can look at your life as you go through and you see the leaves change, and you can think to yourself, say, hey, where am I at in my Christian life? Am I taking in as much of the sun, the S-O-N sun, as I possibly can? Am I reading? Am I studying? Am I praying? Am I serving? Has anything changed lately? Do I need to reevaluate where I'm at? Because you can always come back to where the sun is. God does not change. It's you that's moved, if anybody's moved. If we can help you out tonight in any way, whether it be coming back to God or coming to God for the first time, let us know as we stand and sing.